everyone. Welcome to another episode of Cold Calm. I am Dr. Melanie Gray. Again, welcome to this podcast for leaders who are carrying the weight of others, including their own lives. Today, we're going to discuss how to overcome calm, how to come to a state of calm with our amazing guest, Mr. Brian Gorman, a leadership coach working with leaders, navigating the space between technology and people. Welcome, Brian, to the podcast today.
Well, thank you very much for inviting me. I'm glad to be here with you.
Thank you. So, Brian, you have, I think, well over 20 years of experience working with leaders who need coaching in navigating stress. Tell me what you see out there in the workplace.
I see leaders who are increasingly feeling pressure to bring artificial intelligence into their organizations and increasingly not being very successful in doing so, which is causing them a lot of stress.
And why are they feeling the need to have more AI and this additional stress?
It ranges. It depends on the organization. It may be the competitive environment. It may be board expectations. It may be their own urge to jump on the bandwagon, if you will. So there are any number of reasons. One of the biggest problems is that they're seeing the technology as a solution rather than as a resource and a catalyst.
And so does that cause them to then forget the people?
Absolutely. Actually, reading a book now, I'll be recording a podcast with the author in a few weeks. And if I remember correctly, he cites something like 80 or 90% of artificial intelligence initiatives fail. And the biggest single cause of failure is the technology gets it all right and it's developed absent the people. And he gives one example where a delivery company developed these incredible algorithms that were supposed to reduce delivery costs by something like 20%. And months in, there was absolutely no change. The drivers weren't using the technology. And when they started to research why, it was things like, well, the technology doesn't know that this bridge has been out of service for the last 3 years. The technology has us delivering to people who shut down at lunchtime, and that's when the technology wants us to deliver to them, which we can't do. Whatever the reason, the people, it's just like any other organizational change. The strategy may be brilliant. The technology may be absolutely appropriate. It succeeds or fails through the people. And you can't just bring it to the people once it's ready, quote, ready, and expect it to do what it's supposed to.
Therefore, by not having proper strategy and process, leaders can be increasing their stress. So the onboarding, the rollout, the conversations in how to connect the technology to the work are enhancing stress and burnout.
Absolutely. One of the really key messages that I try to deliver to leaders every day is the technology, AI, brings the intelligence. People bring the wisdom, and we need both.
I love that. AI brings the technology and people bring the wisdom. So in that, what wisdom do you share with organizations so that they can create a code for calm in their cultures?
Well, there are a number of things that go into that, Doctor. The most important foundation, I think, is recognizing that wisdom does not reside exclusively in the C-suite.
Oh, I love that. Can you say that one more time, please?
Wisdom does not reside exclusively in the C-suite. The people that know most about your customers, your clients, the people who know the most about what is working when you serve them and what's not and what they're looking for are your front line. And so it becomes a question of how do we leverage wisdom from the top to the bottom of the organization? And most organizations are not designed for that. They're structured to be led from the top. They're structured to make the decision-making at the top. They're structured to plug people into predefined roles. And if John leaves, then we can hire Mary, and Mary is going to be the same as John because she has the same skill set. No, that's not real. And so it really is thinking top to bottom how to restructure our organization. How do we create a culture where everybody feels that they belong? One of the things I talk about is belonging is not a politically correct or politically incorrect activity. It is a strategic imperative. DEI and belonging become a strategic imperative if you want a wisdom-based organization. It's the only way you're going to get wisdom from the top to the bottom of the organization. And then the last and one of the more significant pieces in making this happen is wisdom circles.
Mm-hmm.
And wisdom circles really draw on the indigenous practice of sitting circle. And they are not about doing, they are about being, they are about fostering and growing the individual and collective wisdom of the people in the organization. And wisdom circles are stepping back from the speed of the day to bring calm and reflection and growth.
Love that. So I love the idea of wisdom circles. I often, as probably you have too, recognize that many organizations have a institutional culture and an institutional intelligence, and that institutional culture isn't always healthy. The institutional intelligence can be very stuck so that they don't get to that point of wisdom. And it leads to people being very frustrated because, well, the institutional intelligence, if this is what we've always done, this is what we know. How do you help them break the cycle of going from what they know to the initially potentially discomfort of embracing the wisdom of others?
It all starts with leadership. It all starts with leadership. If leadership is not willing to say it's not working anymore, then trying to change from the middle, trying to change from the bottom is going to increase stress from top to bottom of the organization. The leaders that I am most successful working with know that even what's working is not working as well as it used to. And they know that the old maps of shuffling the deck chairs, if you will,
Mm-hmm.
are not going to make a significant difference in the long run. So change begins at the edge of our comfort zone. And if a leader is not uncomfortable enough to say we have to change, they're not a good fit for me.
Now, change takes time, and leaders have to first, in order to change others or build a culture, they have to come to some self-truth, some self-awareness. Are there tools, tactics, wisdom guidance that you'd have for leaders listening around self-introspection?
Coaching is a great tool for introspection. For some, it's meditation. Some people do their meditation in a meditation room, or they have their own practices. Some people do their meditation in the gym, their reflection in the gym. Last October, I didn't write it all in October, but I published a book called Leading into the Age of Wisdom that addresses many of these challenges. And each chapter ends with a set of questions for reflection. And those are meant to do exactly what you're talking about, to raise the leaders, the readers' self-awareness. And then they are invited to bring those questions to the larger group of people that they work with to collectively raise the awareness of what's working, what is not working, what is beginning to fail.
So around stress then and burnout and helping leaders lead with calm and not being reactionary, how do you provide wisdom related to just having some boundaries around work and identifying with your whole self, not just your work identity?
So the first thing that I focus on is energy. Time is a false metric of how we do work. We accomplish whatever we accomplish in life through physical, mental, spiritual, and emotional energy. I help whomever I'm coaching, whether it's a solopreneur or a senior executive. I coach them first to step back and look at their own energy. And the easiest analogy for most people is the gas tank. Is your physical energy tank full, half full, quarter full, running on fumes? And then how do you refuel each of these energies?
Mm-hmm.
And then what pieces of your work require what types of energy. So just as a quick example, as a coach and an advisor to executives, I'm draining my physical and my mental energy while I'm feeding my emotional and spiritual energy. So when do I have the most physical and emotional energy, or physical and mental energy to do that work? Pay attention to your own energy flows, and the flow of the people around you. Align the work with purpose. If I'm doing work that has purpose, again, it's fueling my energy. It's filling those tanks up. And then it is all, as we were talking about before, the pressure is to speed up. Speeding up burns us up.
Yes.
So find the time, make the time, give the priority to slowing down and refueling.
Well, I'm young, for example. Maybe I'm 22 years old. I'm out of college. I have lots of energy. I have aspirations. How then would I navigate I want my leaders to see me. I want to be a shining star. How do I pace myself for the rise so that I can go the distance and not burn out? Because there is this thought that I have to do more and I only have so much time and I really want to be seen.
And you have a life. One of the toughest lessons for pretty much all of us as younger workers is to identify the job that we're doing with who we are. And that's just not the case. Now, I have been a fundraiser. I have been a residence hall director. I have been a coach. I have been a consultant. I have been a CFO of a nonprofit. Those are jobs that I do. Who I am shows up in all of those jobs, but it also shows up when I go home. It shows up when I go to the supermarket. It shows up when I go to social gatherings or spiritual gatherings. When we let go of who we are for the role we fill, again, that raises the risk of burnout.
I love that. When we elevate the role that we have over who we are, we limit ourselves and we aren't fully the gift that we want to bring in the world, and we're not giving the full impact of our potential because we're limiting how we see ourselves. Well, I'm not compensated necessarily with money for being my full self. I don't know how I feel about that. Brian, what wisdom would you give to me?
I'm not sure I give wisdom to anyone. I help people find wisdom. And I would really help you explore where in your life you find yourself in the zone where time and the world outside of what you're doing disappears. What makes your heart sing? What makes your heart sing? And we can all find some of that in the work we do. And we can all find that somewhere in the life we live outside the work we do. Just one real quick example. Many years ago, I was dating a Wall Street lawyer. And dating a Wall Street lawyer, you get used to, we're going to eat dinner at midnight. They're going to be out the door before you get to sleep. And for me, I realized, I want to date a person, not a Wall Street lawyer. I want a relationship with a complete human being, not a role.
Not a role. I love that. I love that. Because we're at the end of the day, we go to bed with ourselves, not our titles, right? And what is the impact we want to make? Well, Brian, I certainly thank you so much for your words of wisdom today, the gift that you brought, the way you made us think. So as we get ready to close, would you share your final impact statement with the audience and where they can find you?
Certainly. You have incredible wisdom. Keep nurturing it, keep growing it, keep sharing it, and keep opening up doors with it. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me at my website, which is transforminglives.coach. And you can email me, Brian, BRIAN, at transforminglives.coach.
Brian, thank you so much for being here today. I know that the listeners are going to gain and live better because they've had this time with you. Thank you so much for being here. If you enjoyed this podcast today, please like and follow Code Calm with Dr. Melanie Gray. Remember to stay healthy and live well. Make it a great day.